I didn't think I'd be doing another video so soon about Jeremy Hambley from the Quartering. I did one a couple of days ago. I feel like I did actually a couple a few days ago. He did a live stream talking about Comicsgate, and maybe I misunderstood from that live stream a bit about what his opinions. It looks like actually he did another live stream just now. It looks like actually I agree a fair amount with him about what Comicsgate is actually all about, in that he agrees with me in that it should be a movement for consumers and creators to create a alternative to the mainstream. So initially I thought his main argument was that Comicsgate shouldn't have tried to create their own books or create a little side industry and just stuck with trying to bring the mainstream two big companies back to sanity. So yeah, happy to learn that I agree with him on that. That just purely focusing on criticizing Marvel and DC is banging your head against a brick wall. You're only hurting yourself. Do it a little bit, but yeah, I think focusing on trying to create a new little sub-industry, little side industry, little refuge for, misfits and the unwanted over here with our own books is the way Comicsgate needs to go. But I guess Jeremy decided he needed to drop a bit of tough love onto CG. His ideas about where it's gone wrong. And yeah, so his basic premise is he showed two graphs, your boy Zach's channel and EVS's channel, and he showed how in 2018 there was a big, let me just see which, it's hard to know in the camera here. Okay, so there was a big uptick in 2018, and then it's been steadily either going a little bit down or mostly just stable, no major growth. And that's for both Zach's and EVS's channels. Well, first off, and his argument is that, here you go, this proves that you guys have blown this amazing opportunity you landed yourself into in 2018 and haven't done anything with it. Well, haven't done much with it. Or at least haven't lived up to the potential that you could have done with it ever since 2018. It's been 2 years since then. And his argument is you've bled off followers. I think at one point he said Comicsgate is 10 times smaller now than what it was then. And he's basically just going off the backer numbers and campaign totals for, say, between the first Jawbreakers and the second Jawbreakers, and say, a big campaign like Cyberfrog Blood Honey versus the latest Cyberfrog campaign. And my response to that is, yes, Comicsgate was a movement. It's morphed. It's changed a little bit ever since it started. But you have to also remember that Comicsgate was also an event. It was a massive moment, an upheaval in comics in 2018. And it all surrounded what was happening with the Diversity in Comics channel, the launch of Jawbreakers, and Mark Waid. And all those together combined to create a massive event. And that event I mean, in terms of comic books, it was huge. Your boy Zach got asked onto Joe Rogan. You know, it was a big event. So that's just the nature of things, that if you have this massive moment, it's not just going to be a rocket trajectory from that big moment onwards. And this isn't just got to do with comics. This is to do with anything. You're going to have that big moment, lots of eyeballs on it. Zach was on the Jim Jeffries show as well. This is how big it was. It burst out of the small niche market that is comic books. You know, comic books exists in this tiny little sliver in the broad industry that is entertainment. And for one shining moment, like a supernova, poof, it exploded with Comicsgate. And all of a sudden, you've got hundreds of thousands of eyeballs on, laser focused on your boy Zach. So yeah, it made sense that in 2018, he got a lot of backers and that book made a lot of money. But do you know that when his campaign first launched, it actually only made 95,000. I say only, that was a massive thing. People were wondering if it was going to break 10 or 20. It made $90,000 in the first month, and Zach didn't even know it was going to go into in demand. You know, that was a surprise to him and all of us. So it made 95,000 actually, and then the whole thing with Mark Waid happened, and it all blew up, and he ended up eventually closing it out at over 400,000. So I don't think the comparisons are valid that Jeremy is making. Think of, he made a lot of comparisons to Gamergate, as in, you know, Gamergate did this and now Comicsgate is doing the same thing, or Gamergate was like this, Comicsgate is the same thing. It's really not. The only real similarities are that a lot of it's happened on YouTube and Twitter, and there's the word gate in it, and it's got to do with SJWs in an existing medium. But that's pretty much where the similarities diverge. I was there for Gamergate. I was there since, I was watching Internet Aristocrats videos and Sargon's videos since way before Gamergate happened. So I was right there watching when it all blew up. So, and I was the same thing with your boy Zach. I was watching your boy Zach. I wasn't watching Ethan back then. That was when he was like, "Hi guys, yeah, we're going to be drawing some things today." That wasn't really my interest. But yeah, I was a big fan of your boy Zach, going all the way back to around and before the Heather Antos milkshake incident. So anyway, the comparison between Gamergate and Comicsgate. Imagine, say, Sargon of Akkad, who got really famous through Gamergate. When I first subscribed to him, I think he had something like 1,500 subscribers, and then during Gamergate, he jumped up to around 20 to 40,000. Imagine if he had have just kept doing exclusively anti-SJW gaming content, and he didn't branch out into anything else. You can imagine what his graph would look like. It would look pretty much exactly the same as what, say, EVS's channel stats look like. It would have been a big bump, and then, a slow, flat, and then eventual decline. And that's a piece of wisdom coming from Jeremy, but I don't think he quite interpreted it correctly. It is on Ethan, and as well, your boy Zach has been, he hasn't really changed. He just does a little bit. He's not on the attack as much anymore. He's not getting so much into the Twitter drama. To me, they were always my favorite videos of his. Not so much the the reviews of mainstream books, especially since I stopped collecting them, a year and a half ago altogether. So I just kind of totally lost interest in what was going on in the mainstream altogether, good, bad, whatever. So yeah, there's a lesson there in that if your goal is channel growth, YouTube channel growth, then just sticking with the same content that you were covering during the big boom moment is probably not the way to go. But that's part of the difference between Comicsgate and Gamergate. I don't think either Zax or EVS, I don't think their aim has ever been huge channel growth. Or maybe it has been, but it's more focused. Well, especially ever since they started putting out, their own books, their focus has been to promote themselves to people who buy comic books and not so much focusing on growing their channels. So when Ethan was doing a lot of Star Wars channels, Star Wars videos, and those daily short funny videos, his channel was growing, and now he's doing them again, and it's probably going to start growing again. But yeah, for a long time there, those guys and a lot of us have just exclusively been focused on our own interest, which is, comic books. And that's as much as we love them, we do all recognize it's a little niche interest. Superheroes may be popular, but superhero comic books, or even comic books in general in the West, are, it's a small market, and you've got to do your best to preach directly to them. And as we've learnt from Marvel and DC, as just we've learnt from the mainstream, going after phantom audiences and trying to get them to buy your comics afterwards doesn't always work out. But I think at the end of the day, still, Jeremy has a point that if you do want to get more people back, you want to get more people interested in what you're doing, you are going to have to reach out a bit to, cross-pollinate a bit. Say, talk about things, what would you call them? Geeky things, or, manga, anime, sci-fi, whatever. Star Trek, Star Wars, that sort of stuff. That will help your audience grow. Yeah, there's another good point Jeremy had was that these, I think he made it, maybe he did, these, just having these super long live streams, it's a real steep learning curve for anyone to want to come into Comicsgate. It's, it's a lot to digest. If you hear about Comicsgate, you're interested in what's going on, and then you see, the big channels are doing these, minimum 3-hour live streams with people I don't know. It's not going to be as enticing as a quick little 10-minute video on this or that. So I think there has to be balance there. I saw that Cecil has just started putting up stream highlights, and I watched a couple today and I pissed myself laughing. So he should definitely keep doing that. It's a nice little manageable video to get more eyeballs on your channel and eventually on, your projects and what you're doing. So yeah, I can't really fault Jeremy for pointing that out, but what he did say, what he said that his number one complaint, it seemed to be, was anytime anyone looks at Comicsgate from the outside, anytime a normie looks at it, all they're seeing is purity testing and gatekeeping. People yelling at other people in the movement saying, "You're not Comicsgate. He's not Comicsgate. I'm real Comicsgate. You're not Comicsgate." That's his number one complaint. And that would be valid if that was happening. I need names, Jeremy. Who are you talking about? Who's doing that? And who are they doing that to? I don't see that happening at all. And again, I've been here since the beginning. You know, I'm consuming a lot of Comicsgate content from a broad range of people because I want to know who's involved and what books are coming out and what's happening. I'm not seeing what you're seeing. So I don't know who you're talking to or where you're getting that information from or what you're seeing. It would have been good if you had have dropped some names maybe so I could, think about that. People, when someone like me, for instance, would say he's not Comicsgate, I'm not accusing him of not being pure. I'm saying that person has chosen themselves not to identify with Comicsgate, and that's fine. That's their business. That's their thing, If someone says they're Comicsgate, they're Comicsgate. That's it. They adhere to the values as they see them. So, he kept going on and on about that, making that point, that's his big bugaboo, is purity testing and gatekeeping. I just don't see it. Some big names, Doug TenNapel, Mike Miller, and Edwin Boyette, who were prominent in Comicsgate, who are no longer Comicsgate. No one kicked them out. They left. They didn't agree with some things or some people, or they just, that's their business. I'm not gonna pretend to read their minds. No one said you're not Comicsgate. They said, Mike said I'm not Comicsgate anymore. Or I don't even know. I don't really follow Mike, so maybe he does say he's Comicsgate. But I definitely know Doug TenNapel doesn't say he's Comicsgate. He's against Comicsgate. So, no one kicked him out. He left. And just because people are happy he left, or said to him, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, that's not purity testing, that's not gatekeeping. Well, another thing I think Jeremy got wrong is in comparing, say, Jawbreakers Lost Souls with Jawbreakers God King, looking at the total backers and the amount raised. And I saw Zach comment in the comments there. There was one book. If you were Comicsgate in 2018, you adhered to the values of, the basic values of CG, treating the customers with respect, not attacking them online, not putting out a book as a pamphlet for your particular ideology. You had one book you could back. Jawbreakers Lost Souls. And on top of that, you had the entire machine of the industry trying to destroy it. So you had people who were against SJWs coming in to back a book to fight back against that. In 2020, there are literally dozens. I don't know how many there are, but there are so many books that if you want to support creators who share the same values as you, who are, making independent, fantastic work, you would have to be very wealthy to back them all. You really have to pick and choose and be very careful. I haven't even backed Expendables yet because I'm waiting to get paid, because I've already spent my comics budget on other projects that I'm backing. You can't. It's just not an accurate comparison to show that Comicsgate has dipped that much. Now, it may be. I'm not arguing that Comicsgate may have shrunk. I know for a fact that you can go onto Twitter and see many people saying, I used to love Comicsgate and now I don't, because of this or that reason. So, but to the extent to which Jeremy is saying, say, 10 times less, I don't think you can glean that from the drop or stagnation in YouTube channels from two guys, or the comparing issue 1 and issue 2 of a book from one guy. Jeremy, you didn't look at every single Comicsgate book. I mean, how many are there now? There's got to be, I mean, there's a lot. Someone's put out a whole spreadsheet on it. And it's raised, all in all, they've raised something like, I don't know, I heard this the other day. I should remember it. It's in the millions. It's in the millions and millions of dollars that they've that they've raised. So why didn't you look at that? Why didn't you look at in 2018, in mid 2018, Comicsgate ended up raising $400,000 through Jawbreakers, $500,000 through Cyberfrog, and then I think it was $800,000 with Doug TeNaples' book. I can't remember which one it was. I'm not really a fan of Doug, so Dirtworm. No, that's that's Cecil's thing. No, not Dirtworm. Bigfoot Bill, or the other one. Anyway, doesn't matter. Whatever that book was. Well, since then, you've had plenty of people making over 100,000. You've had new guys come up who are nobodies, essentially. They've never made a book. They've no credits to the name previously, making tens of thousands of dollars. You've got people who are just starting out. They're maybe not at a level that they need to be yet, still making $5,000-$10,000. And then you've got people in between making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. This is happening all the time, and this has been happening consistently since 2018. So, yeah, you have to factor in that people's attention and money has been spread out. And comparing one campaign 2 years ago to another one now is not really an accurate way of judging the success or the momentum of this movement. I mentioned, it's funny, his chat, there was a lot of people in his stream, and I just put in a chat, and amazingly he just plucked it out. I wasn't expecting that. And I said you would think that if Comicsgate had lost, if it was 10 times smaller now than what it was then you would expect Ethan's and Zach's channel views to have gone down 10 times. He said, they have, look at the graphs. And yeah, I agree. There's been a decline from that big boom moment. Take out that big boom moment though, and what have you got? Look at, Zach's old videos used to get 20, 30,000 views. They're not getting only 2,000 or 3,000 views. They're getting, 10, 15. I don't know. They're still getting a big chunk. I will grant you. You have shown me the stats that yes, there's stagnation there, and the growth has not been linear. But it's not the dip that you're describing, and I think what's happened is not what you're imagining. So you gave advice saying guys like me should, instead of getting onto Twitter and comment sections and raging and ranting saying you're not CG, which I'm not seeing anyone doing, what we should do is we should get a webcam and a microphone and get out and start making CG content. Well, I mean, I don't want to point to myself and say that's what I'm doing, but that's what many, many, many people are doing and have been doing since 2018, and they've built up some good little channels. So many guys. And it's working. It's working for them. There's a guy called Sweetcast who did exactly that. started a year or two ago, and he's making a lot of money off his comic book, and he's got a thriving channel. Like, this is happening. Jeremy, you might not know about this, but it's happening. So yeah, thanks for the advice, but yeah, we're already doing that. He made a funny comment. He said, "CG is in terms of the greater comics book industry, we're just the pubic hair in terms of size." And that's correct. You know, we're talking in terms of the $1 billion or so that comics bring in every year. You know, we're talking books bring in 100,000 in total in the millions. And that's true. So yeah, we're just a pubic hair's worth of the greater comic book industry. But what about the potential for individual creators? So imagine even if you're a nobody like me, or a seasoned pro like Sean Gordon Murphy, and you're looking at the industry right now. Sean Gordon Murphy is a superstar in comics, and I'm sure he makes a good living off the mainstream books. But he's looking at Ethan and Doug and Billy Tucci and other guys who are his contemporaries, and saying, holy cow, these guys are making millions of dollars. Hold on a sec. Sorry, the kids just ran in. So I was saying that, so Sean Gordon Murphy is looking at guys who make over $1 million through crowdfunding. And there's got to be plenty of pros who are not making anywhere near as much as he is in the mainstream, who are just making kind of normal everyday wages, busting their butts, thinking, hang on, I could do this. And then you've got guys like me, nobodies, guys who've got a little bit of experience and a little bit of a background, thinking, I mean, why not get on board? I'm seeing people put out their first books and making $30,000 on it. Why? This is, so yeah, it may only be, even right now, a small part of the greater industry that is the comic book industry. But to the individual creator, the potential is insane. So, again, I hear the criticisms that Jeremy is making. I agree with some of them. I disagree heavily with others of them. He certainly knows what he's talking about in terms of growing a YouTube channel. But I think he's not looking at the right things when it comes to criticizing what Comicsgate is and what it can be to people like me, to pros working in the industry, and to fans who want to be able to back books by creators that they can get behind. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure I don't know how long I've rambled on for right now. 30 minutes. Okay, I got to stop this video. I just needed to get this off my chest. If anyone's stuck this long, thank you so much for watching. It's a tiny channel. Please subscribe, give this a like, leave your comments. As always, tell me why I'm an idiot, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.